the intelligence that they have and how they cognize, cognition, we take input, right? We take input from outer world and then we process it and then we respond to that by understanding or comprehending whatever we are doing. For a child, they take input from the whole surrounding much more than us, because they do not have a I know bracket, they come from a context. So they're going to take a lot more from the input, and they do not have a process. They do not have a logic. They just observe the whole thing and they respond from the observing the whole thing, what they have understood. That's why it becomes very difficult to comprehend, because it is too many factors. Should I talk about the taste or the color or the shapes or the size? What is it I have to comprehend? Because there is so many identity. If we'll say, oh, this is blue color. That's it. We define. We take a toy or whatever in our hand. We just define that. Oh, it's blue color. But for a child, it's like lot of information out there which exist, and what are these people exactly asking me to do? No, it's more of a question, how do I use it? What is it? Is the definition they have. So the cognition itself is different. The cognition what we have is from a logical. Cognition where they have is more of a context downloadable. So the whole space is completely different. We are in a shrinking small space. They are in an expansion space. So the cognition, this is what we were discussing in intelligence. The cognition itself is different for them. They do not have a structured cognition like us. Yes, they try to make the structure and try to understand from our logic also, because that also falls inside their bracket of expansion. Like a white sheet of paper, we draw a small box in a corner. We understand the box and the sheet of paper, right? Similarly, they understand our logic because that also exists as part of the whole. So they are able to catch up where we are faster than we catching up with them. If we can define our space as context as possibility, that anything is possible. Yeah, they can download tomorrow, they can speak in Sanskrit. I know for sure. If the parent hold like that, which can be in words, but in reality, if you hold that space, they will be doing that. We are talking about not a normal parenting space. We are talking about an enlightening parenting space. What space we hold is where they exist. So if you hold, tomorrow my son, my daughter can download things, understand things much more, they are going to be in that space. That's why I keep on reminding the parents that hold the highest possibility. That's what we did in the last workshop also. Highest possibility. Let them be Buddha and Bill Gates. Nothing less. Nothing less than what you can hold as the highest possibility. If you can hold them as Swamiji, that's the best. Gurukul kids keep asking, what is the difference between me and Swamiji? It's same, right? I don't even have an answer for that, because Swami believes each and every child, by the time they are like 11th and 12th, their cognition and knowledge both comes in. They are Nithyananda himself. That is the space. By 11th and 12th, they are able to function where he used to function. I went and asked him, Swamiji, they are like, playing music without the battery in the laptop. They are able to, literally do all the things, stop the rain. They do a lot of things in Gurukul. It will be like mind-boggling. Whether is this possible? Can they do it? And all this. I really went and asked Swamiji, is this real what they are doing? They even were making the adults levitate. That's where I had a little doubt. So I went and really asked Swamiji, what are they doing? Swami was so happy and he said, Ma, I used to do all these miracles. My kids also will do. Surely. He holds the space of possibility that they can come up and come out with anything which we don't consider as a logical space. They come out with any way they can. Atlanta, Neeraja's kid, Madhvit, saw in the engineers and really went and asked Swamiji also, how is this guy able to draw different chakras and it looks so authentic and complete, and where did he learn on all these things? He was drawing so many patterns which was not the patterns which I was teaching. So I was asking her also, he just was able to expand just like that as though he knows lot more information. So Swami said it's a happening, it just downloads. He is just there, he knows. There is no question we don't know. We all live in the space only what we understand, we learn, we comprehend, we should understand and know things. But they are in a space they can just grasp from the cognition. Like we are in one context of parenting. What Madhvit is talking, the next word you also know. It's not something new I am talking here, which you don't know. We all exist in a space that we all know the cognition. One cognition we exist. It's like an English language. I don't have to teach grammar, right? You already know the grammar. So it's like that, hidden in that context. You already know what Madhvita is going to talk. What Madhvita wants to converse in this conversation, like how you see me, right? All of you can see me and I am able to see you. And it is only our belief that internet works and so we are able to see. But actually much more than that, even in our visualization, we can see all of us. But we are not able to comprehend into the reality that we can talk, we can understand in that zone. Even though we know visually, I can visualize all of you, I am not able to comprehend. So these are, see, all these what I am talking is a very subtle space where we do not know what we think. I don't know what is there. But actually you have the possibility of moving into that if you just observe the children. Children live in that space. That's why Swamiji so beautifully puts, if you're a teacher in Gurukul, you will not have any pattern, whether it is pattern from this birth, previous birth, any birth. You cannot have pattern. You are pattern-free living, because the cognition they constantly are is a possibility. They are like, okay, I can do this. I can do anything. I don't need my eyes to see. I can see irrespective of our eyes. Can we believe that? I don't have any pain. Again and again and again, Gurukul kids demonstrate this. They fall down, they fracture, they do not cry. They don't have any pain at all. It's an amazing space they hold. Not only big kids, small kids, everyone are able to do that. Not only that, if one get a fracture, we see that week many gets fracture. It's not like one gets fever and others get fever as an infection. No, one gets fractured, the others also cognize the same. Whether good or bad, they understand as one unit. Okay, I'll give you a simpler understanding where you also have experienced this. All of you talk about different things before Swami's satsang, right? You talk about to so many people and then next day you realize, I just spoke this. I just comprehended this yesterday. I was just talking about this yesterday, right? All of us understand. How did we all? No, we are in different places. We have no idea what each one is doing. But how did we come into that cognition that we already know? All of us have felt this at some point. I spoke to this person and exactly what Swami is saying we were discussing. Now at some point, and for many, I can see so many of them smiling, at many points we have this cognition, right? This is not a logic. How did we know before 1 day or 2 days before what is Swamiji going to talk? No idea, right? But the cognition, that's what Swami says beautifully. When he translates, the translator knows the word I'm going to utter. That is exactly he says. The translator, when you're really in the listening, you shift from the content to context. When you shift from content to context, you really get it. You really understand the whole thing as a whole, how the kids understand. So I think I really now want you to be in the context that you already know what I am trying to say in a conversation, in a context space, not in the content. I know my child, this is what he likes, this is what he's violent, this is how he behaves. No, don't be in that space. That is a small defined space. Be in the context that everything, all of us are talking about one space, the space that we occupy. So this is where the children always live. How wonderful that they know the mama and daddy what they're going to exactly say, and they do all the preparation before itself. They know exactly how the parents will comprehend the whole thing because of the space, not out of the logic that we understand, but they know exactly this is how mama is going to be. So I am going to plan like this. They are very intelligent and they know our space and their space, and they act from that so beautifully. They use this everywhere. See, we use this when it comes to Swami's satsang, but they use on us in every possibility. So they know mama is going to do this. If I do this, everything they define very clearly. So when we speak also, we speak exactly from that context. Okay, this is what it is. And then starts the conversation. Okay. So the second thing Manveth is defining is how we use the words, how we use the space versus how they use the space. So first we were talking about the space itself, the how they live, exist, and how we exist. And the second is how they use it and how we use it. Because if you understand these components, you're going to understand where the violence starts from. It's not the violence that we have. We hold a conversation of irritation, this is not right, that is not right, so many things. That's why children doesn't understand what this irritation means. Actually, children do not have irritation. We are confused with the sensitive space they have and the irritation space we hold. Okay, the irritation that we talk about and the space they exist of where they are is completely different. They do not have irritation. Oh, this carpet is not there, this fan is not there, today it's very hot. All kind of conversation is from the adult, where we start getting irritated. Oh, I am not able to, no, we lose the patience. Something called patience, something called irritation exists in us. For a child, where is the patience, where is the irritation? There is nothing. They are sensitive. They are sensitive to all the things. How they are sensitive? To the cognition also. They are sensitive to the taste. They are sensitive to the feeling and all that. So that is what they are experiencing, and which they start crying or getting upset is when they are tired, more of not able to handle the whole thing. They don't know how to handle. Then they go into the tired and they start crying and are upset. Usually a child only gets upset when they are tired, when they are hungry as a baby, right? When they are tired and they have to go to sleep, or when they are hungry. That is the normal space all of us should exist. But this irritation is a idea that we start holding up. We start getting into the space called irritation because we have an expectation of the boundary, the frame. And when things don't happen in the way we want and people don't talk or be in the way we want, we get irritated. That's where irritation happens. For a child, there is no irritation. They are just sensitive to the space. Same thing. If they are not tired, try it out, they will not be irritated. If you tell them again and again and again, how many times we tell them to study or keep the room clean or pick up the things. So many times we say, if we are given the same instruction, we'll run out of that place. Just switch yourself as a kid and see, oh my God, this mom has nothing to say except do's and don'ts, do's and don'ts, do's and don'ts. How do I live this place? I will run out. If we are actually in the space of a child, we will run out of the space. But in terms of a child, they are able to say, okay, I know mama is going to tell me this. She'll be repeating this. Where she is, that's all. They don't comprehend, conclude and get irritated and all that. They are in just sensitive space. This is a right example where I can give. They are not in the space of getting irritated. They are in the space of more into cognizing all the details and seeing what it is. Okay, again and again she is telling me something. Because I want you to understand, now I'm going to give an example where the violence starts. Okay, the irritation is something we hold. The child does not hold the irritation. So the whole thing, they are sensitive to everything. Not that because you are repeating again and again. Wherever they are they tired and feeling sleepy, hungry? Then the listening is not there, obviously, because they need a physical taking care of themselves. So at that time, if you're talking something, they will not be responding the way they are comfortable. They have slept nicely, ate nicely, then the whole space will be completely different. Okay, the two space irritation that we hold and the cognition they hold is completely different. That is not violence at all. Kids do not have irritation, kids do not have tiredness the way we experience. Physically they grow, right? They have to grow and they want food for the body, sleep for the body. That is where they exist. What we want is out of cravings. Most of the time we eat out of our own taste, and if you're really hungry we would eat anything, but we look for things what is nice, no, which I prefer, maybe this is what I have to pull out from the fridge. So we go on the preference, and it is the same for life also. We select and then we start living the whole thing. So where the children are from the space of understanding, so don't comprehend their irritation, their disagreement as violence. They have in the space of understanding of what they are and how they receive when they receive. Only when they are tired, they throw the tantrum. A kid who is nicely groomed and taken care of their food and they eat nicely, they sleep nicely, don't throw so much of a tantrum. And why some kids are screaming and shouting, and no small kids we have seen like rolling over, that is also not violence. I want to clarify a lot of things which we think as violence is not violence. They throw things. No, that is not violence. They know this behavior. As a kid, I screamed and shouted, I got my milk. As a kid, I screamed and shouted, I was put to sleep. So I understand this behavior works. That's all, as simple like a key. I know I use this key to open the lock and I know it works. They do not comprehend like the other person gets hurt and whatever. They do not have an understanding where they are throwing and the other person is receiving. They are into the cognition whether this key works or not. If I jump around and if I fight with my mom, she always gives it to me. So that's all. They are very smart. They use this key to get what they want. They do not scream and get upset and throw tantrum because they are violent. Like we scream and we throw a tantrum because of violence. They don't scream. So that is not violence. Irritation is not violence. I'm just telling all this is not violence. Where the violence starts, the real violence starts is something I want to tell you is the space where they have start doubting. The real violence is when you, for example, they are carrying a glass of milk, okay, and they pour it down, and then we wipe it and say, okay, this is what is a wrong behavior. We will tell the kid not to do. Okay, first time I tell them. So first time I tell them that this you have to be careful, hold it in a tray, don't hold it in your hand or sit down and drink the milk. This is what we are talking to the kid the first time. If suppose the next day they do the same thing, again I'm going to say, hey, I told you yesterday you have to be careful. So this is a conversation we are going to have. The kid starts repeatedly putting things down and falling and dropping things. What are we going to get? We are going to get irritated because again and again we have to handle the same thing. Now we are in a give up. The minute Swamiji beautifully puts up, we give up on others is anger, we give up on ourselves is guilt. So we start expressing the anger. We know very well The child is small. We know very well they are not able to handle life as professionally as us. But still, we just drop all the cognition and say, oh my God, again I have to do. And especially when I'm running to a office or somewhere, they just mess up. So we get irritated in that sense. And then we have one big lecture or a scream or whatever we do through the kid. So what happens to the kid? It's so shocked. At one point, it will be dropping and it will be picking up. But it has not cognized anything in the way we understand. Right now, I dropped it. That's all. That is the cognition they hold. What I did yesterday, day before, did I do it wantedly? And no, all that conversation doesn't exist. They do not cognize the way we cognize, comprehend. We always comprehend, put it in a box, and we understand life. Even now, I have to comprehend everything again and again because that's the way of our understanding. For a child, it can be a blank sheet where now it happens. Right now, this is what it is. Right now, this is how my life is. Why are you asking me in definition to the previous conversation? What is the previous conversation which is attached to this? So that is where there's a mismatch. So when we shout or we tell the kid, don't do this, why did you do this? I didn't expect you to behave like this. All that conversation comes out of our anger. We are not in the listening space of a child because at one point we just have a context of anger. We were very patient, so long telling the kid and all that. At one point, we really give up and start shouting. That give up can happen for anybody, anytime. And the child can understand this context anytime into a wrong cognition. That is where the whole thing starts pushed into a space where they start doubting themselves. So the third thing Margaret want to talk about is the self-doubt which happens for them. First time they think, oh my God, I am wrong. What I have comprehended to live in a space of now, the moment is wrong. I am supposed to go back to the past and understand the past. From there I have to work. So constantly we are making the children, you are wrong. You cannot make mistakes. See, we are very fine when they make a mistake once. But when they make a mistake again and again, we say that is not in our logic. No, they cannot make mistake again and again. How many times to tell you to do? So we give up easily and you see their mistakes in a more defined way. They also don't stop it. They also start behaving in more defined way. Then comes the problem. So we start defining our own space and then at one point somewhere we break and then we don't complete with that also. We start creating the self-doubt. You cannot live in this space. You should also have a border. You should also carry a frame and from that frame only you have to function. That is where we start drawing the first pattern for the child. I am wrong and I cannot make mistake. The child thinks this is what exactly. I am all alone. I thought I was in one cognition with my mom or dad. I thought everybody exists in that same context. But suddenly you're telling me, no, you do not belong. You do not have rights to be here. Get out. No, literally we throw them out of our space is where first self-doubt starts happening. Literally we do not accept that they are a possibility. They also should have a frame and they should have a past conditioning. From the conditioning they should also speak. So then they don't know how to be in that frame. They do not like that. They do not understand that. But you're forcing them to be there is where the violence starts happening. So now it's like a tiredness or a sleepy state, right? So they start throwing tantrums and all kind of violence starts happening because they do not believe that where they exist. They do not trust. The trust is kind of broken. The main thing between a parent is trust. How much they are able to come and talk to you as much without any logical comprehension. Will my mom like it? Will my mom judge it? Without that, they just come and blurt out. I'm not talking about they coming and having, oh, this is what I did and that's what I did. No, they come and just blurt out in not a defined, no profound sitting or anything. They just come and blurt out, Mama, you know what happened today? I just messed up everything. No, just a casual conversation where they just come and share. They don't have an agenda. They don't have any idea. They come and just share with you. They confess with you. The whole thing, they don't have any inhibition. They trust that you complete them. I know my parents will be there. Whatever I do, doesn't matter what it is. I am not wrong. I can make mistakes, and my parents are going to hold me up and expand me. The solid trust they have that you are going to expand them, even they make a mistake, even they don't know. See, I'm not saying shouting at them is wrong or hitting at them. Even hitting or shouting or whatever you do is not wrong, as far as you make sure you make them understand the context. Okay, there are parents who shout at a kid a lot and still they are very stable, and there are kids who are so sensitive and the parents shout just once and they are gone. They get into a space of self-doubt and they become shy, they become quiet, they don't talk, they don't converse, they are not open to everybody. They become identity. They start forming an identity which looks very artificial, but that's how it starts with. They start putting a frame and say, this is my likes and dislikes. They define their space, which does not exist, but they try to put a border and say this is where they exist. But as a child, it is very, very artificial. But as an adult, it makes more sense, because we all live in some identity that we all hold. We are nice. We have the definition of who we are. So for a child, they don't know who they are. If they are in the space of openness, they don't know who they are. They don't have self-doubt. They don't have any problem of I'm wrong or right or anything. But the minute they have no openness, they start becoming an adult conversation. That Swami says the word as adult conversation. One day, it was so beautiful. Swami came and asked one kid, when can you learn this sloka? All the kid said was, I'll think and tell you. That's it, he caught him. The thinking comes only if you're an adult. Don't have adult conversation from now. No, all you have to say is, tomorrow I'll do it. For a child, whether it is, they don't comprehend the size or the effort that happens. They just say everything is a possibility. He just was trying to see what a kid thinks as a possibility, not a logical conclusion. He is not interested in logical conclusion. As a parent, we should not be interested in logical conclusion, that whether they understood things, whether they comprehend things. This understanding, comprehend, let it stay just with us. Let them be spontaneous in saying whatever they are saying. Let them be open. I can do this. I know this. We will be so doubtful. How do they know this? When did they learn this? What are they talking about? That's the space a parent should be. Oh my God, I never expected this out of them. That is whether good or bad. There is nothing wrong in life. First thing parents have to understand, there is nothing wrong in life. Everybody have made a mistake, and so many mistakes, and we learn and expand. There's only expansion cognition. There's only shrinking cognition, where we get into our dull, depressed space, or we are excited about life and we become creative like kids. They're always in expansion cognition. When they become into the adult conversation only, they become irritated. The so-called irritated. They don't know even exist, but they start believing the pain that they go through, the irritation, the tiredness, the boredom, all are defined in adult conversation, where the self-doubt happens. So they are not able to expand. So they start living in an adult conversation. The adult conversation is where they are not able to confess. They should be able to confess anything, especially when they make big blunders. They should just come and blurt out. And you should be, okay, come inside, I'll talk to you separately. Don't go and talk in public about all these. Come on. You should be defining like that. They should be just open to say who they are in front of anybody. No inhibition, no ideas, no views should define them. Make them in a space where they do not have particular likes, dislikes, wants, nothing. They don't need all those things. Everything happens in a idea where it's an expansion. Okay, I will be like this. I want this. Okay, I'll try this. Okay, this doesn't work. Whatever. A space of a child where everything is a possibility. Hold them in that space. Then only they're going to come up with extraordinary things. They can do things which is extraordinary only if you first trust their extraordinary exist. A parent or a teacher holds that space for them. Swamiji holds them for the highest space. He says each one should become Nithyananda, nothing less. So he holds them like that. He calls them also. By 11th and 12th, he calls them as Nithyanandaites. Technically holding them as a possibility. Tomorrow I should be able to this. I can learn this. Yes, come on, learn horse riding. Come on, take the flute and start playing it. Take the keyboard. He gave them instrument which I've never even heard or seen in life. But within just next day, they started blowing. And of course, the first day, Swami was so, literally closing his ears and eyes and saying, okay, you play. This is how everything starts. So there was such a messy sound and no organized. But right now, if you see in the morning, they play the drums and the, all the conch and everything so beautifully. But he gave them time and space for them to figure out. There was no person sitting and teaching for them. But they have to figure out the whole thing. It's more of figuring out what happens. Whether it is a flute or a cognition, it's out of figuring out what are we trying to say. No comprehending and conclusion like us. We conclude and comprehend, yes, this is what it is, defined, this is how it should be. Nothing of that sort. Be open, be in the cognition. That's why it is like a float. It's like a big ocean. When we try to understand a child, there is no understanding because that doesn't exist. It is a kind of a huge space. What you will define there, what you will say, this is what they are. There is nothing there. So we have a difficulty living in that space. But they have such freedom living in that space. I am not defined in a way. So I am actually liberated from that cognition. But we have a conversation, then we start creating a pattern and we live through, this is what I am. I know I can do this. I am good at it. I am not good at it. So we have a definition of our space. So then we pull them into that space, happens when the self-doubt happens. All this I'm telling is only for one thing, where the self-doubt, when we pull them, drag them into our conversation, our frame, comes the problem. So this is where the violence starts. Violence is not the way we talk about gun shooting, killing. Yes, that is an effect of what happens. The TV programs, all that is an effect of where they are. If you do not bring up a child with a self-doubt, even if you put a violent movie and a TV and all that, the impact will be very less. They will be clear, I don't like this shooting, I don't want to do this much. They themselves will not use the computer or laptop to play this game. The way you groom them is more important than what is given in the outer world.